When I left that relationship, my mind convinced me you're failing, you're weak, you're stupid, you're crazy, you're feeling like you miss him, there's something wrong with you. I felt a painful emotion, I'm stupid. My mind was like my biggest enemy. But what's so ironic about the whole thing is that that is my mind trying to protect me. That feels like, okay, if I'm the cause, then I can fix it. But that is not the truth. It's a loop that can never be closed. You will never reach a level of being good enough for the mind. So the way out of this is hello, my loves, and welcome back for another video. Today we're going to be talking about the way that our minds hinder the healing process. Let's just get straight into it. So, our minds are meaning makers. And by that I mean that our minds analyze things, interpret things, they try to pinpoint the cause of things, and then they try to predict things because of it. And this is a very useful quality when you think about trying to survive, right? I mean, when you see a big scary animal running at you, like back in the ancient times, if you see a giant mammoth running towards you, you're gonna want your brain to say, hey, danger's approaching, run, run, run. And that's exactly the role of our minds. They want to warn us, they want to protect us. And so it's really a useful thing. Our minds have evolved to help us survive. But at some point, right, life for humans has evolved to more than just surviving. Obviously, survival is our primary goal. We can't have this life without it. But so many of us were working towards goals now. We have vocational goals. We have goals about who we want to be, right? Life is about more than surviving. I think we can all agree on that. And so, because we've evolved past just purely trying to survive on this planet, our mind has actually started to hinder us in a lot of those things that aren't just survival. The thing about our minds helping us survive is that our minds want to control things. Our minds feel okay only when they control, because when you're controlling something, then you think you know the output of something and you feel okay about it. You feel like your survival is a fact. You're going to be fine because you're controlling the situation. Whereas vice versa, if you don't control the situation, if there's a lot of uncertainty in the situation, you're going to feel very at risk because there are so many ways that this could go, and you have no control over which way it is going to go. And that is very scary for our minds because it feels like a very real threat to our survival. But we know that certain things aren't going to kill us, right? Uncertainty isn't going to kill us. Not knowing what's going to happen today isn't going to kill us. And I mean, like, on a literal level. We're not going to die because we don't know. But our minds are convinced that we will. Because of this, when we feel uncertainty, our minds will actually seek to create certainty, to create the feeling of control. And one of the main ways that our mind does this is by interpreting, analyzing, and pinpointing you as the cause and you as the solution. So what I mean by that, and I'll just get into how this showed up on my healing journey. Basically, when I was cheated on, I got cheated on, first and foremost. And when that happened, my mind interpreted me as the cause. It said, this happened because you are not enough. I wasn't good enough, therefore I got cheated on. That is the way our minds work, because in that situation where my mind is attributing me as the cause of what's happened to me, that feels like, okay, if I'm the cause, then I can fix it. When I left that relationship, my mind convinced me that so many negative things. It said, you're making a mistake, you're being stupid, right? My mind was like my biggest enemy. And while I was trying to heal from that relationship, it was the same thing. I did not have a great understanding of the healing process and what it actually looks like. And I don't think anyone really does, which I'm just going to plug now. If that's something you're interested in, I created a lovely guided healing workbook, which will be linked in the description. Feel free to look into that if you're feeling stuck. It's meant to help you understand what the journey looks like and to actually navigate it. So, I did not have a great understanding of what healing was. So, when I actually embarked on that journey, there were so many things that happened that were actually very normal parts of the healing process and were not indications that I was failing, but my mind said otherwise. Like a normal experience in healing is missing your partner that you've left. It's a very, very normal part of the process, and it does not mean anything about how you're doing in the journey. It's simply just a part of healing. But my mind could not accept that, right? It doesn't like when it is not in control, and that feels like we're not in control. So my mind would instead say, you're feeling like you miss him, there's something wrong with you. You're failing. You're weak. You're stupid. You're crazy. It was like I felt a painful emotion. I'm stupid. Like it was literally like everything I that was going on, I didn't have knowledge about. My mind would instantly try to create a cause and a solution. But what's so ironic about the whole thing is that that is my mind trying to protect me. Like we said at the beginning, our minds are part of our survival mechanisms. Like our mind evolved because it helped us survive. And so when my mind comes in and says that now, it is trying still to help me survive. It's just outdated in the mechanisms it's using because, like we said, we know that's not going to kill me, but it's just the thing that our mind feels like if you are the cause, then you can be the solution. If you are stupid, well, that's good because we can fix that. If you're weak, good, we can get stronger. But that is not the truth. It's a loop that can never be closed. It just takes you back in circles. You will never reach a level of being good enough for the mind to feel like you are safe. Because obviously, as we've said, you were never unsafe to begin with. So you're trying to solve a problem that's not really a problem. And because we're not aware of the way that our minds work, we can get sucked into this. I mean, some people never escape this their whole lives, and their whole life becomes this endless pursuit of becoming, of trying to get the next thing, of trying to get the next relationship, of trying to get money, of trying to be this or that, because your mind is trying to fix whatever it thinks it needs to fix to ensure your survival. Like we said, the problem was never that you weren't going to survive. It's a fake problem, and your mind will never stop trying to solve it. So it's important to know that your mind is innocent, because otherwise you can feel like more shame about your mind, which is already shaming you. It's a whole positive feedback loop. So the way out of this is to become so present and become the absolute observer of whatever is going on inside of you. To observe the thoughts and to realize that by being able to observe these thoughts that are crossing your brain, these interpretations, you can realize they don't have to be true. They are not who you are, and they don't, we, once you can observe it, see it as something that's separate from who you are, because when it's tied to your who you are and your essence and your worth, there is no choice there. You're trapped. You need to keep trying to get out of it. But when you see them for what they are, which is just a thought, a passing thought, you can be like, oh, well, I actually don't think that's true. So that distinction between, your thoughts and you as the thinker, or like your experience and you as the one who experiences, is the key to your freedom. When you can keep that level of separation, it stops giving your thoughts power over you. It stops giving your experiences power over you, because you are now just the one who observes it. And that part of you, that observer, that consciousness is whole. Can never be touched by what it experiences. It just experiences. And whether it's good, whether it's bad, that doesn't matter to your consciousness, because it's all the same. It's just experience. One way I like to practice this, of like creating that separation to create that freedom for myself, I journal. And I know this feels like very generic advice, but I journal every day because I've gone through so many moments where of pure suffering and mental suffering. And when I write it down, it's literal space. It's like my thoughts written down and me reading them. And I'm like, hold on, none of these are true. Like I had a time where I was breaking down about, can I create YouTube videos? Who am I? This and that. And I write it down what my brain was saying, and it was saying, you're a loser, you can't do this, you should quit, you should give up, you suck. And when I finally wrote that down, I was like, I don't believe any of this. And it reminds me of the quote by Carl Jung. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And that is exactly what's happening with your thoughts. When you don't become conscious of them and them as passing thoughts, they control you. You run and you run and you try to achieve and you try to pursue because you're trying to get something that doesn't exist. But when you see them for what they are, that ends. They run out. They start losing their power. And one analogy that I absolutely love that reminds me of this is the shore, and there's the tide, the ocean, the waves. Our experience, whether external, like interacting with someone else or perceiving things on an external realm, or internal experience, like thoughts, feelings, sensations, anything that is experienced is the tide. And if you think about the nature of the tide, it comes and goes. It might be a wave, it might be a big wave, or it might be a full-blown tsunami. Regardless, it comes and it goes. Our true nature, the one who observes the experience, the experiencer, that is the shore. And the shore is eternal. It is unchanging. No matter what comes over it, it is still the shore. So of course, when those tsunamis come, it can be hard to remember I'm the shore, not the tsunami, and to allow it to pass through and recede, to give it the space to come in and foster it. But I think this is one of the biggest, most important keys to freedom and healing. Allowing your experience to come and go without attaching a mental interpretation, or at least noticing what that interpretation is and asking yourself, do I want to choose this to be true? Because your mind's going to yap. When it says I'm stupid, when you have that space, you can say, well, I don't know if I want this thought. I don't agree with it. I'm going to let it go. And it returns you your agency. So, and even more than that, I found that for me, I just try to disregard all the thoughts altogether and try to focus on the feeling that is within my body, because usually thoughts are caused by feelings that we're not really present with. My negative feelings tend to manifest as a ball within my heart. And it is so uncomfortable when I first start to just try and observe it and like breathe and let it be there and accept that it's there and be like almost a hospitable environment for the fear, in the sense that like, welcome, I'm gonna observe you, I'm gonna accept you. When you don't resist your experience, things pass. What you resist persists. So when you can focus on that feeling and you stay present just long enough, you don't get swayed by thoughts of the past, you don't get swayed by thoughts of the future, you stay very, very present in this moment right here, and you continue to observe, even though your mind is trying everything to try and get you to distract yourself, the feeling dissipates. Once you get past that point of discomfort, it loses its hold, it loses its power. And I believe that is what healing is all about. Learning to process your emotions inside of you and to remain present with them and to not get swept up into a premature mental interpretation, because once you learn from those feelings, you will find a meaning naturally emerging, a lesson, a reason for that experience, but your mind cannot fill in the gap. You must sit with the uncertainty of not knowing why this happened and not knowing why this comes next, and accepting that that is the truth, honestly. So, like I mentioned earlier, I just launched my Coming Back Home to You guided healing workbook. It'll be linked below and in my bio. I also have a free letter to you if you are struggling in the initial aftermath of a relationship that was really difficult and this time feels uncertain and difficult. But I hope that this video was helpful and I can't wait to see you guys again soon. I love you all very much and I'll see you in the next video.